Hey, what's up, guys? Tetley T-Boy, and this is the second week of Vlog of Ages. As you can see in the background is me playing a bit of the lovely game of Doritos Crash Course 2. I was playing a bit with Miss Tetley earlier on, and I thought I'd just record it, and I can show you how bad we both play on this game. So, as I say, I did the first one last week, and it was alright. I mean, it didn't do as well as I thought, but nothing really does well unless it's like majorly produced by someone like Steven Spielberg or on TV or generally one of the bigger channels. So yeah, we'll work with it and we'll carry on. So what I'm going to do is just going to crack straight into it so we can just get through all the topics, because I've got a few of them this week, a little bit better than last week, and no real controversial ones, just general discussion about some of the stuff I've learned over the last week. And let's get to it. So, as you've probably heard me mention in a lot of my videos, I do talk about the Xbox One because there's still a big debate about the whole used game thing on it. Now, Xbox have actually came out today, and well, not today, but in the last few days, and said, well, we will encourage like you be able to trade in your games and that with your retailers, I said, and also being able to like lend your game to your friends. But the condition of lending a game to your friend is you can only lend it to one friend who's been on your friends list for more than 30 days, and it can only be done once. So if you have multiple friends that want to borrow the game off you and play it, then you're kind of buggered, really. I don't know why they're doing that move, because, you know, me personally, I've borrowed loads of games off different people over the years. And that game's been let out several times by different friends, you know. So it just doesn't make sense in that move. And also, they also came out and said, oh well, you know, we're not going to do loaning or renting in the beginning. So if you're part of like GamesFly, I think it's GameFly or Blockbusters as they have over here, you're pretty much fucked. Because if that's how you get your games, really, then yeah, it's not going to happen now. You're just going to be left having to actually buy the game outright until they actually get a system in store. I mean, the one good thing about it that they have is the same day digital download. So instead of you having to actually go into the store and purchasing it, you can go into your Xbox, say, just go to it, pretty much feed money into it, go, take my money, while a new game comes out. I don't know, like maybe the new Call of Duty, when that comes out, you can do it that way. So you can be one of the first ones to play it if it comes out at midnight, instead of having to queue up at a store. You can probably pre-order a bit like what you do on Steam, where they might have pre-order offers where, you know, I keep saying, you know, and I'm sorry. But if you say, like, I'm going to reference Call of Duty Ghosts again. Say if you pre-order the game and pay like so much deposit, then you'll get like an extra gun or an extra skin, just something like that. But most of the time, you're required to pay the full amount up front, which again can be rather dear for people. But it's just one of those things. I mean, that sounds quite good to me, because sometimes I can't be asked going out on the morning after trying to buy a game I know is going to be sold out. Whereas if, say, somebody just gave, even on my birthday, say somebody just said, here's £40, buy yourself a game, I can put that into my account and then buy myself a game on my Xbox straight away, which is a bit easier. But anywho, again, like I said last week, E3 starts tomorrow. E3, I'm plural in everything today. That starts tomorrow, and there's going to be a lot more information given out from there. I can tell you that now. I mean, there's a whole thing about the PS4 not meant to have all this stuff, but there's got to be finer details, because when they had their press release in February for the console, there wasn't really anything said about the console, so people have been making up their minds about it. At least Xbox had the decency to come out and say, look, we brought you an 80s VHS player to play your games on. Be happy. But enough about that for now. So, also today being the 9th of June when I'm recording this, there's been a little bit of a live stream press release of Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, the precipice of this game actually seems a lot better, whereas the last few games, like Modern Warfare and all that, was like a bit glamorized Hollywood, like you're the superpower, like British SAS or like the American SEALs or something like that. and you're like, wow, I'm running through buildings, jumping into helicopters, a bit like you're in an action film. This one apparently takes you to the opposite end, where the players you play as is a small squad, and you're the inferior troops compared to the superpowers, which actually sounds quite good. And the fact that they actually said, well, from what I've seen and what I've heard, it's more like a squad based in this version as well. Because as they said, they're starting a new arc of stories with ghosts, which is good because the whole Modern Warfare story had run its course. I mean, the fact that if I'm going to spoil it for people, if you haven't played Modern Warfare 3, dear God, why not? Because it's been out for so long now. The fact that Soaps died eventually after like almost dying like about 2 or 3 times, and Makarov, who's the main bad guy from like the first one, who's now finally dead as well as everyone else. So there's nothing more to do. I mean, you've got Captain Price, but what are you going to do with Captain Price? He's like pretty much should be retired, like with a freaking Medal of Honor. But it's not going to happen. So starting a new story is the best thing for them to do. I mean, the whole thing with Black Ops as well. I know there's 2 different companies, like Activision and Treyarch. Treyarch have already finished off Black Ops 2 from what you can see, especially if you have played the game. And spoiler alerts again, there's so many different endings. One's where Woods dies and Mason's, or one's where Mason is alive. So again, if I've ruined it for you, you should have played it by now, I'm afraid. But it's good that they try and take new stories or new concepts and put them into that, because otherwise it's saturating the market with so many similar things, and it gets boring. Especially, I know I play Call of Duty quite a bit. I play Black Ops. I've been playing it today even, and after a while, you kind of it's not like you can play that game for several hours. I'll admit that I can play that game for a good 4 or 5 hours and not get bored, because it's mainly the company that I'm with, like my friends, because we all have a laugh in that. But the fact that there's people that still play it professionally, I don't know. I don't think I could play it professionally, just for the sheer reason that I'd probably hate it after a while. But anywho, each to their own. Blah blah blah. That's a little bit about Call of Duty Ghosts. Any more information I get, we can go into that. So, as I say, in the background here as well, I've got the wonderful game of Doritos Crash Course 2. It's free off the Xbox Live Arcade. It's quite a fun game. You can see me teabagging while I'm waiting for Miss Tetley, because she just dove off a cliff. That's hilarious, as ever. It's actually a really fun game, and it's just one of those ones that you can just chill out for a little bit and just relax. You don't. It's a little bit of competitive edge of like timing and that. As you see, she caught up to me until I did a wonderful like Assassin's Creed move. Yes, I played that and then brought myself around the pole. Anyway, so I've been playing that, and then I tried a bit of this other game. A lot of people will have seen it. It's called State of Decay. Now, State of Decay, as far as my impression of it is that it is a DayZ for the Xbox. Now, DayZ is quite a popular mod for the Arma 3 game, or Arma 2. Arma 3 is new. Sorry, I get that wrong. Blah blah blah. And in that, you play like a bunch of survivors where you have to obviously survive a zombie apocalypse, and it does go on noise and that. And when I was playing a bit of State of Decay, about 20 minutes before this started, I noticed there was a lot of similarities to that as well. As in, like, you go rummaging through stuff, it'll make noise. You kill enemies with guns, it makes noise, and it draws the zombies towards you. Now, that encourages more of a stealth and sneak type game, whereas you have like your Left 4 Dead, where you just gun through as many zombies and wherever comes at you. So again, it's a matter of choice in that game. I mean, I probably would enjoy it, but the demo that I played of it, the controls are actually quite hard to learn. It is a bit of a steep learning curve, unless that was just me being really thick. Probably is me being really thick, but it's one of those games you should try. I mean, it's the demo. You have to download the full game, because it's one of those ones where you download the game and then you decide to unlock it. It unlocks straight away. You can get achievements that way. But nah, you know, we all play those type of games. I mean, I've played loads of them and then paid for just the achievements, because I'm an achievement whore. But I don't have a decent gamer score. Boosh, boosh, boosh. I rap. No, I don't really. I only got a gamer score of about 45,000 or something after about 5 years. After I started off my wonderful account of Tetley T-Boy. and that's where the name's grown with me ever since. I mean, the fact that people just call me Tetley. I'm named after like a tea brand. I'm sure I should just be used to promote their brands, but oh well. So, fine. I'm going to move on now because I'm just rabbiting on. So anyway, as I did mention in my last vlog, I did have an interview for a local business that was done on Wednesday because obviously I'm still unemployed at the moment. Now, I went to that interview, was there for almost like about an hour or so, just chatting away to the manager, doing obviously the interview questions, general questions, and just getting along with him. And I thought that was doing quite well for me. I thought, this is this might actually work. This might help me get a job. But apparently, when I've actually been waiting for the phone call back, there's been no call. So from what I could gather, if you don't get most places now, if you don't get a phone call back, that pretty much means, nah, sorry mate, you haven't got the job. Although, what I would appreciate myself really is for someone just to ring up and just say, look, I'm sorry, I know you had the interview, you haven't done as well as the other candidates, but we'll keep your finger on file just in case another vacancy comes up, and then we may consider you again. I wouldn't mind if somebody did that for me. But the fact that you get them where you send off, like, there's probably a lot of people that might watch this video, probably of all four of you, that will probably agree with me if you've ever applied for jobs, where you get to the point where you're sending off CVs constantly just to hear nothing back, and it annoys you. It really annoys you because you just want that feedback, just that little bit of feedback that just says, yeah, you have got it, or no, you haven't, or you might be considered for the role. Would you like to come in for an interview? But no, you don't get that. You just get pretty much thrown to the wayside. It never used to be like that. I remember about 10 years ago when I was going for my first job, and I applied for a few places. I got callbacks from 2 after an interview just to say, look, you've not been successful, but we'll keep your stuff on file. And I said thank you. And then obviously I got my weekend work while I was in college, which was all right. But now there's just a complete lack of, not respect, but you'll get what I mean anyway. Where it's just you don't get anything back, and I'm just going to end that rant now before I really get annoyed with it. So, rant over, blah blah blah. Anyway, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on any other video, but I am a wrestling fan. This is moving straight onto another topic, by the way, because I've got a strict schedule set up by the missus. Anyway, yeah, I'm a wrestling fan, and I have been since the beginning of what they called the Attitude Era, which was like the first match ever. They started it off as The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels for a lot of people, but then it was like Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. That's what really started it off for me, and I started watching it then, and it's, it's weird because when I was watching it when I was growing up, there's a lot of different storylines. You had a lot of different characters. Now, saying that, I started watching it maybe 1997, and we're in 2013 now. I can tell you there's a stark contrast in that. So from 1997, you had lots of hardcore matches. You had all your big names still in it. Now you have John Cena as the big name of the company. John freaking Super Cena and his freaking 5 moves of doom. I mean, dear God, why can't he just get someone else over in that company? And by over, I mean actually push towards the top. Because, dear Lord, they're both, well, it's floundering. I mean, there's another company that's called TNA, or Impact Wrestling, as people might see it on the TV. And that's doing a lot better. And they've brought in talents from, WWE that they've released. And, this storyline, yes, they have a storyline called Aces and Eights based off Sons of Anarchy, where it's meant to be like a biker gang, even though I don't think any of them can ride a bike. Makes sense. But their storyline's been better, even though now it's been similar to NWO 2.0, which was a storyline in WCW, 1997, 98, where it was just a big New World Order, which was originally started by Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, 3 wrestlers, and it became this big, massive group, which was intent on taking over the company, which was good. But nowadays they don't keep storylines like that up for long, whereas TNA has actually done so. you actually have a story which has been running for over a year. Shockingly, I know. But if I'm going into the whole state of wrestling and that, I would prefer it if they would I'm not saying bring back big name stars, but the whole factions thing, like where you had D-Generation X, Nation of Domination, and a few others, like yeah, you had like all different factions, and it wasn't just one faction. You had like about 3 or 4, and they would have like wars with each other. And that's what you want, really. In a company, you want different storylines. You don't want the same person being pushed. Like John Cena versus Ryback. Ooh, everyone wants to watch that match. It was so good. It was just like Mark Henry versus Ryback at WrestleMania. Worst match of the night. I mean, fuck me. Ryback fucked up the finisher. Picked up freaking Mark Henry to hit him with his finisher. Gets squashed by him and gets knocked out. So he has to do the finisher after the match. Nobody wants to see that. Ain't nobody got time for that. But I'm going to finish there as well. If you're a wrestling fan, you'll probably understand, unless you're like 10 years old, to which I'm sorry. So, there. Now, final few minutes, we're going to talk about a few programs I've been watching. Now, I do watch TV, surprisingly. I don't just play Xbox and, I don't know, wash my hair, because I'm obviously a woman. No, but there's 2 programs I mainly watch, and that's, over in America, they've probably been on for a lot longer. But over here, they're relatively new, and that's, one's called Revolution, which is, I think, on Sky, and the other one's called Defiance, which is on Sci-Fi. Now, when I first started watching that Revolution, I thought, oh, this is alright, and then the story went really bad. So I started getting put off by it. And then Defiance came on, and it was all based on sci-fi, and I was like, oh wow, this looks really good. I'm really interested in watching this. I mean, I've bought the game that's linked into the story, and it worked out actually quite well. It's like the actual game itself is really good as well. I thought I'd mention that. I've played that quite a bit. I don't know if I've posted footage, but I have got loads of footage I could use. I probably have, but well. But in the last few weeks, what I've noticed is Revolution's story has gone really, really good. As in, like, it's not like it's building up to a defining epic finale, but it's getting better towards the end. Whereas a lot of other programs, when they get towards the end, they do get better, but it's like the last episode before a cliffhanger. So you tend to be like, ooh, well, it was all right up until then. A bit like, I'm going to upset people now, but Game of Thrones is a bit like that. First episode of every season, it's a bit of like, oh, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then it slowly like lulls towards the center, and then the last few episodes, it picks up again. Like, apparently, in the most recent series, the Red Wedding, I haven't seen that episode yet, so don't spoil it for me, people. But the Red Wedding is meant to be like a story, like defining turn, and everyone's just like, oh my god. So it's a bit like that with Revolution, like there's turns and turns. Whereas Defiance, I don't know. It started off well, and some of the stories are still okay, but it seems to be lulling towards the center, like towards some of the episodes. I'm finding that I'm recording them as well because I don't know what I'm doing at the time, but I'm recording them, and then I'm just coming off halfway through to go watch something else to come back to it because I'm getting bored. Not a program shouldn't be like that for me, and I don't know what it is. I think it is just where it's just a bit of a lull at the moment in the actual story. It might pick up next week. It might not. It looks like it probably will pick up next week from the little bits that you get at the end, but we'll see. And that's about it really from the topics. I've run out of topics, unfortunately. But so I'll just wing it for a sec. So what I was going to say is, if you have anything you want me to talk about, like I've mentioned in any of my videos ever, just send us a message or comment on this video, and we can discuss it in a later vlog of ages. And I'd just like you to know what you think of what I've done, because in the last few episodes, I've actually changed my intros a little bit. Now, as you can hear with this one, it's a bit like 8-bit music, which I found off a YouTube channel called Techno Axe. He does royalty-free music. I can't say that bloody word ever. But he's really good. I mean, he has a wide variety of music as well, and all free to be used in commercial use as well. So if you do have that, I would recommend checking him out. But yeah, if you've got anything to talk about on this episode, just feel free to write to me. And as ever, like and subscribe. And this has been Tetley T-Boy, and this has also been the Vlog of Ages. And I'm going to leave you with this little final bit while I wait for Miss Tetley to cross the line for the final race that we did, which I thrashed her.